So spring buying. Many people know that spring and summertime are the most ideal times to actually buy a home. So the question comes down to, what's the market outlook for 2019? Is spring for 2019 going to be the time to buy a home? And personally, I think it depends on how long you're going to hold on to the property. I think historically, if you look at people who have bought properties over a 15, 20, 25-year period, if you're holding the property during that time, for the most part, you're going to be okay. Property values are going to continue to go up. The value of the dollar goes up. You could buy more with it. There's values just go up over time, but it is a long-term hold. Where people get really caught up is, well, if I buy now, am I going to be profitable, or am I going to have equity in the next 3, 4, 5 years? And now you're playing the timing game, and you're going to have losers. You're going to have winners. We saw the people that bought in 2004 and 2005 that all of a sudden 4 or 5 years later, they had nothing. They had no equity, foreclosed, short sales, a lot of issues. But if you bought in 2012 and now it's 2019, you're really well off.
Well, to kind of segue off what Mark was saying, timing is everything. However, what I always tell my clients is, provided that you're in a position where you can hold on to or pay the mortgage and it's very close to your rent, and there's a pretty simple calculation you could do to determine whether it's better to rent or to buy, then you should just hold on to the home. Remember, a lot of times people can get depressed over the fact that the value of their home has gone down. However, if they don't have to sell due to a job layoff or a forced relocation, then hold on to the property, because as Mark said, it's going to go back up, right? Kind of segues off of what I mentioned earlier with where houses started in the 1970s, where they went to in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and now we're in 2019, and they go these upward and down patterns. So provided you can hold on to it, if the values are down, don't worry, just hold on for 2, 3, 4 years, and you'll probably be back up in that up cycle again. I had that exact conversation over lunch with one of my clients that invests with me. He bought a home. He went to go check the value for an equity line because he wanted to invest additional funds elsewhere. And he noticed that the property had gone down about $10,000. Well, he bought the home cash. It didn't really matter that it went down $10,000. That was a simple function of what his prior neighbor had sold it for a month later. He's not in a position where he has to sell the property. He intended to be there for a long time. So if he does ever want to sell it, he would literally, in my opinion, wait 3, 4 years, which is not that long a hold, right? When you look at the overall spectrum of things, especially when you compare it to stocks. And so again, if you can afford the payment, you're not stretched to the bone, because this is exactly what happened when people lost their homes in the late 2007, 2008. They used their homes like credit cards. They pulled out every bit of equity to buy stupid stuff like boats or
Well, remember, there were a lot of homes that were being sold with Mercedes-Benz parked in the garages.
Yeah, and this again, we touched on that in the prior episode about the mortgage meltdown and things of that nature. And so long as you're smart about your home and you use it as a home and not a personal credit card, just tapping all of the equity, you're going to be able to ride those ups and downs. And at the end of the day, you don't care, because it would be an unrealized loss. Just like people saying, oh, my stock is worth so much or my house is worth so much. Well, if you didn't sell it when it was high, it's going to be an unrealized gain.
And if you're looking to buy a property and you think you're going to be selling in the next 3, 4, 5 years, you may really want to consider maybe holding off or even renting to give you that flexibility if you believe there's a looming recession coming that could affect the housing market. That's something to really think about, because if you buy a home now in 2019 and all of a sudden you have no equity or you're underwater in the next 2, 3 years, and you have to sell the property to then relocate for work or any other reason, now you have a bit of a problem, and you're faced with either doing a short sale or you're going to end up renting the property. However, depending on the rental market, you may be forking out negative cash flow every single month out of your pocket. Now, there are some benefits to that and some tax, of course, it's tax write-offs, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, that's something that you're going to want to run some numbers on and kind of figure out if you're willing to take that risk. Now, again, if you're going to hold on to the property 15, 20 years, for the most part, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think you'll be more than okay.
Yeah. Now, what I do want to see is a shift in trends from single-family homes to even buying multi-family buildings or even townhomes. I feel like more people are going to they're looking more for like that urban where they can walk to like the grocery store, coffee shops, that sort of thing. And so I really want to see that trend.
Well, isn't the next topic that we're going to touch on rise of townhomes and multi-unit buildings?
Actually, no, it's not.